Cream, more chocolatey, has more smell into it. These two coffees are the same category. Hello everyone, I am Jerome Sumagaysay, the head roaster of Kapiyakan Coffee Roasting Service. And I am also a University of Mindanao Bachelor of Science in Hospitality Management alumnus. So, most of the people here in the coffee industry, including me, 3 years ago, thought that, coffee is just mixing beverages. I was in a club here in UM, Flair Tending Club, and I thought it was the same, just mixing alcohol and then juices. But no, it has a deeper meaning. This second cup has been through stages of process. It was made by 4 different people in 4 different time, 4 different places. And I'm going to teach every stages that's going to be in this second cup. So the first stages, we have the farm. The farm is where it all starts. The farm is where the flavor comes through. So, coffee cherries, next slide please. Coffee cherries could be red or yellow depending on the variety that the farmer wants. A coffee tree takes about 3 to 4 years to be planted and harvested. And then, it takes 3 to 4 years to be harvested. And then, the farmer decides what are these 3 things to consider. Farmers have 3 things to consider. We have the varieties, altitude, and the method of harvesting. So the first one is the varietals. There's lots of variety. As you can see earlier, there are Robusta, there are Arabica, Liberica, Excelsa. But over here, if you choose Arabica, on Arabica, you will select a specific type of Arabica. Could be bourbon, could be SL28, Geisha. There's a lot. Each one has different sugar structure, has different acids and density of their green coffee beans. The next one is the altitude. The altitude matters because coffee that is planted up above Mount Apo, let's say 200 meters above sea level, the coffee cherries are in slow development because of the cold environment, and it develops in more complex sugars. In this way, altitude matters in terms of flavor. A Catimor that is planted 1,000 meters above sea level and 400 meters above sea levels are different. And the next one is the harvest. We have selective picking. Selective picking is selecting only the ripest cherry, not the overripe, not the unripe. Then we have strip picking, where we get everything in the tree, including the ripe, the bad, the good. So the difference, uniformity. If we choose good cup, we want a selective picking. It might be labor intensive because you will be doing it manually with your hands, but it is worth it. If you want your coffee to be a more commercial graded, you can do selective picking. And I've been to a farm in Pagunayan in Amay, Manila. We visited the St. Mary of Downtown Farmers Association, and with the help of Mary Gani Saints, she has given us permits to climb the mountain. And what I saw there was kind of sad. It's because the farmers there uses horses. Not jeepneys, not trucks, horses. For 3 hours, we will deliver the coffee cherries down the mountain up to the mill. So, I think the next time we serve our cup of coffee, let's think about what happens in the farm. Because the farm is not just a backdrop, not just a background. They're the one who take the labor, the most intense labor of all. Next slide. Okay, that's the horse. Next slide, please. So, The processing. Sorry. So the processing. So after the farmers have delivered the coffee cherries to the farm, this is where we process our coffee. And then the green coffee cherry is transformed into a the red coffee cherry is transformed into a green coffee beans, where the green coffee bean is bought by us roasters. Now, we have three different types of process that is mainly used in the coffee processing scene. We have first the wash. Wash process is a method of removing the skin, fermenting the coffee, and then wash, then dry. The flavor would be a more clean, bright, and then it more originally speaks what happened to the farm. Okay? It's not processed heavily compared to the next process. So wash process is more on highlighting the farm rather than the processing. The next one is the natural. As you can see, the natural process, the coffee cherry is intact. The skin, the mucilage, everything is intact. And then dried for several weeks depending on the weather. Flavor-wise, it could be heavy body or what taste, and then the process speaks for itself. It might cover some of the farm, but it highlights what the process did to the coffee. The next process is we have honey process. And honey process is the middle time, the in-between of our wash and our natural. So what does it taste? It tastes more balanced, more smoother, and more in the middle. So wash process is the balance of what happened to the farm and what happened to the process. Next slide, please. So this is us conducting a Davao coffee tour in Managa, teaching coffee enthusiasts how to process coffee. So the first time I went coffee processing, I knew on paper what wash and natural are because they're already available in the internet. But as I went there, realization hit me that it's really different by just looking at paper what happened to the coffee. And I would recommend for you to go and experience. It will resonate and you will have a more deeper understanding on what the coffee you are serving, what you are brewing, what you're brewing. Next slide, please. After the processing has been done, we have the coffee roasting. So coffee roasting, next slide please, is a thermal transformation of green coffee beans from green beans to a roasted one. Because we cannot brew a green coffee beans because it will just taste vegetal. So we roast it. We roast it using fire. And this is what happened inside the drum. We have three phases, basic three phases of roasting. We have the drying phase. The drying phase is not too complicated. You just enter the coffee beans inside the drum, and then nothing too dramatic. It just pulls moisture from the coffee. And then the temperature will slowly go up and then enters the Maillard reaction. The Maillard reaction is the same as your bread going brown or an onion becoming caramelized. It will develop a lot of flavors, a lot of nuances. In coffee, the acids, the sweetness, the protein comes together to create a certain taste that we know. Then after the Maillard reaction, we have the first crop. The first crop is literally a crop. It's like a popcorn. The first crop is like a false alarm. The second one is like your first crop. Okay? So the first crop is where the coffee has accumulated a lot of energy from the drum, and then it releases the pressure, and then releases the CO2. And this is where we roaster decide where to stop. Next slide, please. So these are the roast levels. If we hear the first crop and then we stop really early, that means we entered the light roast. Light roast coffee are more transparent when it comes to taste. The roasting side does not hindrance what the farmer, the processor did. It does the job to highlight what happened to the farm. Let's say the farm did not do selective picking. It does uh, the harvest. So what does it taste? It would taste vegetal, uneven. The flavor would be all over the place. And it's not a really pleasing experience. Unlike to a selective one, a more uniform, a more homogeneous taste, a more better experience. Same to processing, good result. Now, if we move forward again and continue to roast, we reach the medium roast. This is where the farming and the processing characteristics softens, and the roasting side will be applied to the flavor. And if we go more further, the farm and the processing goes whiter, and the roasting side is more expressive, it's more dominant. That's why a lot of people love dark roast because it's more coffee in taste. So is there wrong if we choose what roast level? Is it wrong to choose light or dark? No. Light roast is more transparent, dark roast is more expressive. So the only thing is that you know what's the difference between light and dark. Nothing is wrong as long as you know what's the purpose. So as a roaster, next slide please. I've roasted in Comfort Peace Bangkal 3 years ago. So I never knew that it was really complicated. You have to consider the green coffee beans that you will be receiving, the moisture, the density, where it came from, what process. There's a lot of consideration. And roasting, you need to consider your temperature, airflow, the drum speed, the timing, and how it looks. And it really humbled me because roasting, aside from being a bar, it gives you a lot of accountability when roasting coffee because it's a batch and you can't redo what you're going to be roasting. Next slide please. And the stage 4 is the final call. This is where it all lands. The farming, the processing, the roasting. It can be seen here in the cup. Next slide please. So we Q grader and sensory experts have standardized method into evaluating coffee. We evaluate coffee with the same grind size, the same water temperature, the same dose of coffee, just to level the stage. And the only variable is the coffee. So we compare the coffee from Mount Apo, the coffee from Bukidnon, the coffee from Linao, just to assess the coffee evenly. In the CQI, or the Coffee Quality Institute and Specialty Coffee Association, we have attributes on how to assess the coffee. We assess them by smell, the fragrance, the aroma, and taste. What flavor do we taste? Acids. Aslom siya, dali? Good ba yung aslom? Kalamansi ba yung aslom? Lemon ba yung aslom? Or suka ba yung aslom? The aftertaste, body, mouthfeel, overall, uniformity, and overall total. Next slide, please. So, yeah, so this is the traditional way of scoring coffee. But as I realized over time, you don't have to be licensed or certified. It's better though to have training, but sensory skill could be learned through community base. You visit your coffee shops, you visit a coffee roaster, you visit a coffee. You will develop the taste. You will learn something, and it is important to learn the language. We got training on the Coffee Quality Institute to have the instrument to assess coffee. So why is coffee evaluation important? It's because us Q grader assess the coffee through taste. And if we don't know what happened upstream, we don't know what happened to the farm, to the process, to the roasting, we have the cup. So we cup the coffee, we taste it, and then we see. Because coffee does not lie. Bisag kung saon pa na ninyo sagol-sagol sa inyong kape, makabalumi. Kay train man ang mga palate. And then, we could taste fruity notes, the origin sa shakikan, the variety. You can say it's Arabica, but Robusta din sa cup. That's already a red flag. We can taste it even if you don't say na Robusta siya. We can taste defect. We can taste where you dry your coffee. Did you dry it on the road? Did you dry it on elevated dry bed? We can taste if it's moldy, if it's stored bad. We can taste if the coffee is stored for a long time and then served as Americano, stale coffee. We can taste it. Next slide, please. So, yeah, that's our job as sensor experts. Now, I have run through you every stages of the coffee. And every stages that we have went through has professionals that's working on it. The farmers who have dedicated their time to take care of their plants and trees, selecting the right variety on what altitude they have, the processors who decide what flavor that will come. They're not just discovering flavor, but they're deciding what flavor they will have. The roasters who translate what the farmer and processor has to offer. The curators who assess, who help the quality improve. The coffee educator, the baristas, the home brewers, the coffee owners. All of them is in the coffee industry, and that's the Philippine specialty coffee. Next slide, please. So, there are three things you can do here in Davao. Davao has everything. If you're like from the North Pole, wala silang coffee doon because they're not on the coffee belt. But we're here in Davao. We have Mount Apo. We have Ma'am Gina. We have Frog Cafe. We have Malipayon Peace Hub at Bansalan. We have Integrate Coffee. All of them are accessible. I want you to go and discover. So number one here is attend a cupping session. So a cupping session is a breaking through for us sensory addicts because cupping will give you a lot of varieties to taste. So if you're just drinking coffee with sugar, try to go to a cupping session. It will introduce you to a coffee that you will like. You will never know what orange is in coffee, florals, the herbs, chocolate, a big fight lang. But try to attend one cupping, and it will change your mind what specialty coffee is. The next one is attend coffee trainings. A lot of people here in the Davao Coffee community conducts free trainings. Some international organization do. Try to enroll, even if you don't know what you're walking into. Okay? Even I don't know what coffee sensory is. I just applied for a scholarship. I just applied for a scholarship and I don't know what I am doing. So right there, right then, I learned how to do it. So try to do it without even knowing what to do because you'll learn how to do it if you're gonna be there. Okay? Then ask to visit a farm. Not just farm, ask to visit Coffee for Peace Farm, ask to visit Ma'am Gina, ask to visit your fellow baristas work. Try to learn, and everything might be in your interest and become your own career. Next slide, please. Okay. So now that we're at the end, um, I have been in the coffee industry for almost 4 years now, I think. And then I've been through all 4 stages of the coffee scene. And then I'm really thankful that I have this opportunity. And I have run a smaller brand, Yaslo Micro Roastery, where it is self-discovery of brand for people who want to discover coffee. Now that we're at the end, I'm gonna leave this to you. So, we have 2 cups of coffee. Here, remember this one? The second cup, you now know what happened, what went through in this coffee. Thank you.